Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, and our wishes have been granted. There are finally additional PvP changes coming for patch 9.2. I saw people memeing on Twitter about really Deathbolt's going to be the only PvP change coming through in this patch. Something random to do with Holy Priest. It's not really relevant coming through specifically, but now we have a much longer list of basically all nerfs in PvP, and these nerfs are aimed at healing and absorption effects, harkening back to the feedback that we saw them want to iterate on, which is making the game more lethal. I think that this does have a good opportunity to bring a game to a better position. I would like the game to be, something a little closer to the middle between dying in 0.4 seconds to a burst cooldown or going to 80% dampening. These healing spells are definitely attributing to the significant length of game matches, and perhaps now with these round of changes and maybe even additional ones in the future, the damage of offensive cooldowns can go down along with them, so we can have a more standard length of game match that isn't just focused on one shots but also isn't focused on out healing everybody till the deepest points of dampening. But this is definitely changes iterated on feedback that I've seen from a lot of top level PvPers, and a lot of them make sense to me, but we'll talk through them and make sure that they all do make the most amount of sense. Some of these are hitting some classes really hard. You may even reconsider what you were going to play with how hard that they've been nerfed, but we'll just talk about them straight off the run here. Necrolord, your Fleshcraft absorb value is now 25% of your max health in PvP combat. It was 30%, so a 5% nerf to the Necrolord Covenant that a lot of specs were starting to roll over to, and having that big shield to just allow you to survive through a first round of cooldowns. It's going to be 5% weaker. I don't think that this is the biggest deal of the rodeo that we are about to go through. The next one is the Spell Warden PvP talent, RIP DKs. Now applies Rune of Spell Warding with a 50% increased effect, was 100%. To be fair, while Death Knights aren't in the most competitive position, I think this talent specifically was overtuned for magic damage to the point where you almost were just completely immune to it. Death Knight may still stand a good shot here in 9.2 with how much damage it's going to be getting, and more specifically what's happening to other specs in the game and their healing and durability. So while this may on the front seem like, oh no, DK just got leveled in the one thing that they were particularly shining at, I think it's a change that makes more sense to balance them in that specific scenario, so they're not just invincible to magic damage, and then these other nerfs are going to put them on a more competitive playing field because the things that would otherwise be better than them are more or less going to be almost equal. The next big nerf was towards Druids, with Frenzied Regeneration healing being reduced by 37.5% in PvP. It was previously reduced by 15, so another 17.5% nerf to Frenzied Regeneration. This is almost negating the conduit that they have that increases the healing of Frenzied Regeneration, so it'll be interesting to see if Druids are just going to go down now, especially the auto Frenzied Regen from the conduit. I think a lot of players would agree that that was a frustrating mechanic to engage with, so targeting the healing on that means that Druids are going to have to be a lot more careful with their positioning. They're not going to just be able to rely on that. It almost automated as an auto bubble from Legion for how powerful it was to save you. So Feral Druids, Balanced Druids, and Resto Druids are going to get hit by this Frenzied Regeneration nerf. Do remember Resto is getting a ton of healing buffs, so Resto is probably still going to be fine even with this. Feral likely still fine with the ability to instant regrowth. Probably Balanced Druid going to be getting hit the hardest. And then Windwalker. This is the one that I wasn't sure made the most sense in terms of targeting the healing, but still I'm glad that they are targeting the healing spells. Reverse Harm PvP talent now increases the healing by your expel harm by 60%, was 100%, so it's getting reduced by 40%. I wasn't particularly worried about Windwalker's healing right now in PvP. I'm more worried about the spinning crane kicks killing me in 0.3 seconds. But still, this is a good direction to try and get PvP in a position where it's not going to 80% dampening. And then after this, perhaps we can see how it plays out. Start looking at some of these cooldowns and modifier stacking windows and bring the damage down along with it to get the game to a more midpoint, which has been the main point of feedback that I've seen from almost everybody unanimously, is to try and get a more balanced ground. Now, when we scroll down, there's even more nerfs. We can see Retribution Paladin, Word of Glory healing reduced by 30% in PvP combat, was 20. Wouldn't have mind seeing this attached to Prot as well, honestly. 10% is not that big. See, when I was looking at in between these, between Monk and Ret, I was thinking like Ret healing is a lot more bonkers than Windwalker, but Windwalker got nerfed way harder than Ret. So this is where that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I was surprised to not see any changes specifically to proc wings from Ret Paladin, especially their interactions with classes like Demon Hunter's Eye Beam, where they're critting every tick and it's proccing their wings almost immediately. Seems like that mechanic is amplifying Ret damage to an extraordinarily powerful level. So I was a bit surprised to not see that targeted. But again, these all seem to be very focused on hybrid healing and getting the game to a more lethal place, which I think we would all rather be more lethal than not lethal at all. I at least preferring Shadowlands over BFA at this point. I would like it to get to a more middle ground, but these healing spells need to go down before we can then maybe tune up the damage or tune down the damage to get it to that point. Rogues are getting their Cloaked in Shadows Conduit absorb value reduced by 33% in PvP. This is the shield you get when you go into stealth. Another pretty frustrating mechanic when you just see a rogue running away with a full row of dots and they disappear behind the pillar and you never see them again, even though they were fully dotted. Maybe this nerf will bring it to the point where they'll actually get pulled out of stealth when they're dotted, which is what I would really like for the rogue matchup, because to me it's always been, as a rogue, is trying to make sure that you're clean of debuffs before you go for a re-stealth, and if you don't, then you're punished for that, and this conduit completely removes that mechanical play. So this nerf to it may allow that. Again, 33%, is it going to be enough? We'll kind of have to wait and see. And then Enhancement Shaman. Remember, Enhancement Shaman is getting mana cost reductions on all of their spells, so you're going to be able to pump out a lot more healing, and you're only going to be getting a 9% additional nerf to your healing surge. It was already nerfed by 20% in PvP, so 29% healing surge nerf to Enhance. Still, again, falling in line with these hybrid healing effects that were very difficult to kill through. And the final change, which could be the final nail in the coffin for Warrior, is that defensive stance is now only 10% reduced damage from 20. That might be even so high that warriors now no longer take defensive stance. Only 10%? There's lots of times where I'm dying to a rogue mage through a pre-fade on my priest, which is around 10% damage reduction. So if you're only at 10% damage reduction, you may not be sitting in D stance. This may have removed warrior from the table of PvP. You're still going to bring tools like Intervene, but those were amplified by being so tanky with defensive stance yourself to redirect that damage. So Warrior got hit the hardest on this nerf overall. Like, you got smashed in my mind with how this is going to roll out. Although I do like the direction of these changes, and this could completely mix things up, as I was saying, for Death Knight possibly having more viability because Warrior is getting put in this spot. It's like, you got to wait and see what happens, really, because it's like, is DK going to be bad? Because Warrior looks like it's going to be made out of paper potentially in the future. All the healing on these other hybrids is going down, and now Death Knight's not going to be immune to magic damage, so it kind of makes sense. But this could put the game in a completely different place. These changes came out of nowhere, really, here in the last second. Everybody was memeing thinking it wasn't going to happen, but here they are. They've arrived. What do you think in the comments down below? Let me know. And if you want to stay up to date with all of these patch changes, I do my best to upload them in real time. I think this one literally came out 10 minutes ago, thanks to my chat notifying me of them. But let me know what you think. I think that this is a good first step, but there's still a couple more steps to get the game to a place where it's not 80% dampening, but also not dying in 1 millisecond. That is ultimately where I would like to get it. I want to look at the positives of these changes. These are preventing those 80% dampening matches. And now the next step in my mind would be going after some of those modifying, stacking moments where damage is just so exceedingly high. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. If you'd like to follow me live on twitch.tv, I'm streaming every day. We do viewer games. We do 0 to Heroes. We do rank 1 PvP, currently trying to get that rank 1. Still maybe 150 rating away from it, but it's intense gameplay nonetheless and a good time. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I will catch you in the next one.